This thing on. I have never went live here on YouTube. I go live for my Patreons, but I have never done it here on the YouTube channel. But I want to start a weekly stream just to give people a better opportunity to talk about their mental health accomplishments or their struggles for the week or just that have been going on. And I think this is a really good opportunity to do that because a lot of comments can get lost. And I know not everybody can be on Patreon, so I just really wanted to give everybody the opportunity to come and talk about their mental health stories, their mental health concerns, their mental health accomplishments. And of course, I will give feedback. Just to let you know, I want to obviously say I am not a mental health professional. Any advice that I give will be based on my experience or the things that I have learned. Hi, guys. But I just want to let you know I am not a professional. So if you are in a mental health crisis, please seek professional intervention. With that being said, just check in here. Let me know how you are, what's going on, any struggles that you are having right now. I know the holidays can be very, very challenging for a lot of people, and they were particularly interesting for me this year. I went back to my hometown, and while I was there, someone that was a big part of my childhood passed away, and that was a bit of a challenge. But for the most part, I had a pretty good holiday season. But I know the transition through the holidays and then into the new year and all this pressure for resolutions and stuff can be very stressful. So I just wanted to start kind of checking in. That was a big goal for 2022. If you guys do make any tips or donations through the super chat option, I just want to let you know that all of that is going toward my mental health outreach. So I have a really big project in the works right now. So any tips or anything will be going toward that. So Eli says, I have depression and anxiety. And I think that that is something that a lot of people, especially here in the US, obviously struggle with. I have lived with clinical depression most of my life. So up until fairly recently, I would have crippling panic attacks. I was hospitalized multiple times over them. My depression was obviously to the point that I just couldn't cope anymore because of my mental health. And I wound up on that ledge, as so many people on my channel know. I wound up on that ledge just ready to end everything because I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't handle it. And I know that it can be very difficult to navigate through these things, but I do want to say that depression will tell you that you're weak and that you're powerless and that you have no control whatsoever to move through it. And I will tell you, sitting here with a smile on my face, that that is not true. You have a lot more power to take action and to do things that can help your mental health than what the depression, what those symptoms will have you to believe. So I just really want to reiterate that you have more power than the depression or the mental health um, diagnoses that you might be struggling with will let you believe. So there are a lot of things that you can do to combat those symptoms. And obviously, I always say that if you do need professional help, please don't be afraid to reach out for it. It is there, but there are a lot of options. If that doesn't work for you, it didn't work for me. If that doesn't work for you, there are a lot of other options. We got Texas, we got Australia in the house. We already got people from all over. I love it. I emailed you a few weeks back. Mid-30s living with Parkinson's disease days can be rough. Absolutely. From Mexico. It's crazy Texas dude. Now we got Texas. Um, my mom had Parkinson's, and I watched her struggle with that, and I know that it can be something that is really challenging for people. I don't personally have experience firsthand with it, but I did see my mom really struggle with it. And I have heard of some people getting help through different avenues, be it CBD oil. I actually knew an elderly woman that was getting a lot of help with CBD oil. I can't speak from a medical perspective. As I said, I am not a medical professional, but I have heard people that have had luck with that, or that have reduced inflammation as a way to combat Parkinson's. It's been an interesting start for the new year. It sure is. And I'm glad, Sandman, I'm glad that the channel has been here for you to help you transition into 2022. I was just bummed that 2021 took Betty White. That was a bummer. I swore during 2021 that it wasn't allowed to take Betty White and it wasn't allowed to take my elderly friend Gloria, and it took both. And I was really upset with that. It didn't hit me as hard as losing Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park, but it still did really come as a hard hit to lose her. So I'm kind of glad that 2021's behind us. I feel like this is just a time to kind of restart, and I don't like to look at the new year and go, oh, let's make resolutions, and oh, you can restart any day. It's just symbolic. Rick, you have no idea how happy I am to see a message from you right now. I have been really, really worried about you. So I'm glad that you are here, and I understand how hard it can be to hang on. We were actually talking about PTSD in my Patreon this morning because I have several soldiers that are in there, and I was just curious if you have connected with other with other veterans that are struggling. I know that that can be very, very difficult. I have PTSD, though not from serving in the military. I've obviously never done that. But I just wonder if you are connecting with other people, because I think that that is really paramount when it comes to the unique needs of soldiers, because I know that obviously civilians like me aren't going to be able to understand on as deep of a level, but I care so much. If your light goes out, please, 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 we will find a way as a community together. We will find a way to help you through this, but please hold on and please keep trying. I always say that if you try and it doesn't work, try again, try a different way, try asking for help. There's always other ways or other things to try. So please, 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 please don't give up, and don't let that take you. Just please. I've been there in the sense of being at wit's end, and I just don't want to see anyone else in this community lose that battle. So we will be here for you. We will band together. I really genuinely believe that we can get through this. Sometimes there are moments when you think about it whenever you see the train pass. Yeah, I have definitely had those moments where you're just at that rock bottom level of depression. You're feeling those symptoms of depression at their hardest, and you do think about it. I semis for some reason. It was semis for me, or obviously if I'm higher up and I look down, it brings me back to that place of being on that ledge in Canada. And there's times when it is a wow, I survived this, and there's times where it starts looking quite tempting if I'm starting to feel those symptoms kicking back up. So I very much can relate to that. I don't get it as much nowadays as far as looking and feeling the temptation, but I mean everybody has the worst, crappiest, awful days, or the kids' book, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad days. And sometimes you just want to move to Australia, except for I think we had someone from Australia in there. Where do you want to go when you want to escape? I always remembered that. I just read it to my son not too long ago, but I always remembered that. I'm just gonna move to Australia. I haven't watched any interviews with Aurora. Sneak peek, we actually have more Aurora coming back for the channel for reactions. So don't worry, I'll be diving down that rabbit hole for sure. Yeah, Manny, I can say that that is definitely true. That there are a lot of people that they put on a face, and you might not know that they were struggling. When I was at the worst before I went public with my struggles and my story, when I was at my absolute worst, and I was in active addiction with cocaine, and I was harming myself all the time, nobody ever knew. Even the people closest to me that I was hanging out with on a regular basis. My partner knew and just didn't know how to handle it. My partner at the time, but people that were with me on a regular basis had absolutely no idea. So I think it's important to check in with people frequently, especially if you are military and you have that group of other military people, of brothers and sisters in arms. I think it's very important to frequently check in, especially around holidays, or if you know any anniversaries, things like that. It's very important just to, even if it's just, hey, would you like to go out to dinner, or just send them something to let them know that you're thinking of them. I will say though, I know it's very common advice for people to suggest that you just text someone and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" I actually advise against that as far as trying to check in for mental health, simply because I know that when I was in that rock bottom sort of state, if somebody asked me how I was doing, my impulse reaction was to say, "I'm fine." So if you have any reason to be concerned about someone, I would say just doing something kind, or if you know what's bothering them, say they lost somebody. Say, "Hey, I know this can be a really challenging time, and I just want to let you know that I'm not going to judge you, that you can be open with me, that you have a safe place with me," instead of saying, "Do you want to talk?" Because their impulse reaction is likely to be no. If you say, "Is anything wrong?" their impulse reaction is to say nothing. So I kind of discourage saying, "How are you?" or "Is everything okay?" because someone who's in that state is often pretty much conditioned to be dishonest about it. But if you're the one to open up the dialogue, then it's a lot easier for people to open up. That's awesome. Thank you, Jimmy. I really do want to build a community, and that's what I've been aiming to do. And the project that I was talking about that I'm working toward that will be coming out in 2022. So I am very, very, very excited about this. It's where all my Patreon funds were going, where they're currently going. And like I said, any donations or anything here in the chat, it's where it's going to be going, is basically to create a very powerful mental health community where people can find people like them. And that's all I'm going to give away. But it's going to be about community, and it's going to be about connecting with people who are struggling in similar ways. So that is all I'm going to say about that. But I do want to reiterate that it is important, and I think that I'm focusing on that so much because I think it's the big part of the mental health picture that's missing. Donatello says, "I have it on my calendar to move to Australia." I want to add that to my calendar now. Australians go to New Zealand and walk the steps of Bilbo. Is that? I actually didn't even know that that's where that was filmed. I never really got into that trilogy. I was more into Harry Potter and stuff. Text can be very passive aggressive. I will agree with that. To be honest, I ignored texts of people send me those "How are you?" texts. It just seems it's not even passive aggressive per se as much as it just is passive, period. It doesn't seem personal. It doesn't seem like you really care. If I genuinely am concerned, thank you so much. Thank you so much. If I'm really genuinely concerned about someone, I'm going to call them. I might text just to say, "Hey, I was thinking about you. Do you want to do something?" Like I might text them to invite them to something, but if I'm genuinely concerned, I'm going to call them. Beat in Indermar. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Thank you so much. Thank you. I really do want to. I really do want to help this movement. I know what it's like to feel like you're at rock bottom, and if you're feeling that way right now, that's okay. You have a safe place here, and I have some really, I believe, strong content that will be coming out here in 2022 that will help people not only that are struggling with mental health, but another thing that I think people are missing out on is how to communicate to someone who is struggling with mental health. Give me a hands up here in the chat if you have just heard the dumbest things from people, and sometimes it's well-meaning people, but have you had just really, really, really dumb stuff come out of people's mouths in regards to your mental health? I think that's another thing that I am really, well, I don't think, it's another thing that I'm really committed to combating, because I think that while a lot of people want to help, they just don't know what to say. So I also want to be creating content that helps people that are struggling with knowing how to support people. Because I look back now and I am ashamed at some of the things that I said to people, to even my dad, to friends who are struggling with their mental health, and I just didn't know any better. And I'm really ashamed to say that now. See all the hands we got here? We are not alone. There's so many of us out there, and I think we've all faced some kind of discrimination with mental health, or some kind of just being passed under the rug, just brushed under the rug. And that's not fair. And I do think in a lot of situations, it's just because people don't know any better. People don't know what else to say. And in some cases, kind of panic. Um, Yeah, a face-to-face or even a phone call. I mean, a lot of my friends are back home in Missouri. I'm currently in Arizona, so sometimes a phone call is really all I can do, or Skype or something. I still Skype instead of Zoom most of the time, except for my Patreons. My Patreons, we do a Zoom call because it's easier to do the group call, and we talk. This morning we were talking about serial killers and other languages, and let's see, obviously mental health. We just had so much fun. We play games and stuff. It's a lot of fun, but I do think it's important to at least get the emotion across through the voice. But yeah, I think that that is really really important. I agree with Michael Jacobson, who said listening to people such as Aurora Chester and more have helped me than talking to professionals. So I will say, in my case, professionals did more of a disservice. And I think that's actually the case in a lot of situations with people that were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, BPD, which was my official diagnosis. I think that there's a lot of struggle there, you know, to figure out what to do because the first line of defense usually for a licensed therapist is to try to encourage medication. And with BPD, medication isn't particularly effective. And I've known a lot of people that have anxiety, symptoms of depression, and medication just makes it worse. And that was my case. And I think that having those other options is very important. And Lincoln Park saved me. Not only the story that you guys probably know so well, if not, go look up my reaction for breaking the habit. It's the song that saved my life. I was on the ledge of a hotel room ready to jump, and this song coming on saved me because Chester was my comfort. Chester was my comfort when I was sexually assaulted, and all I could think about were his tattoos. I just needed someplace else to go in my head while it was happening, and I was thinking of Chester Bennington's tattoos because it's just what came to me in the moment that I felt comforted by, and I do think having a community like this, having people we could talk to, having music that validates and comforts us, yeah, it can be way more helpful than mental health. I think that the internet is a blessing and a curse because it can help people talk and connect, but it can also, as we were talking about with text, give a false sense of connection. So then we don't go actually connect with people or try to uh, move past our discomforts. Because I actually had agoraphobia for a very, very long time. I had very scary agoraphobia. Didn't want to leave my house, couldn't leave my house. If I had to drive more than a few miles, I'd have full blown panic attacks. It was really bad. And I knew at some point that I had to start overcoming this. I developed this after my mom died. And I did eventually start overcoming it, but it took a lot of work. It's not easy. Hello, James. Yes, this is just something I wanted to make sure I knew how to do. Like I said, I haven't decided on a time yet, but I do want to start doing this just to give people the opportunity to come in here and talk and say, tell their stories and maybe get some feedback. I really think this is your true calling in life since you understand what some of this. I really feel like I feel kind of a sense of belonging. I'm not quite there yet, but I feel more of a sense of belonging. I definitely feel that I'm doing what I'm meant to do. I feel like I don't want to say professionally because this isn't really a professional thing to me. This is more my outreach efforts, but I feel like in that case I am am where I'm meant to be. I was being accused of being not normal. First and foremost, if there is a normal, I don't wanna be normal. I'm not laughing at you. I just wanna be clear, I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at the person that said that because I've been called weird and a freak and an outcast and a nerd and a lot of words that I won't say here on stream. And you know what? Yeah, you're not normal, neither am I. And our club is pretty awesome. We have really great cookies. That's awesome, Rick, that you do have each other. And I'm glad that you could talk people down. I hope that somebody could be there to talk you down. I know you've been struggling a lot. If you want to reach out to me one on one, I don't think you had through my email. I know we've talked on comments. Please feel free to do so. My email is in all of my videos. I just really want people to know that they have a place to talk to somebody. And I know that my perspectives could be different than your battle buddies, but I am still happy to talk to you because, like I said, I really do care if your light goes out, Rick. I really do. And I agree that no degree or certificate can be as useful as speaking with someone who's been through it. Yeah. And that's the problem I had when I went to professionals was, okay, you're giving me advice based on a textbook, not based on experience. And these textbooks are written by people who often have no idea. It's based on studies. You're not looking at me as an individual, you're looking at me as a statistic, and I don't want to be a statistic. I really don't. I think that that's why I do this, is giving people that place where we can connect and communicate about our struggles, because a lot of us have been there and we need to normalize it. A lot of people have been here, a lot of people, and it's just increasing by the day. So I really do think that it's more important to create community and create a validating atmosphere than anything else. Oh, James, Basket Case is a good song. I I was, let's see, and James is say he was listing off his diagnoses. I was first diagnosed bipolar, then that changed to manic depressive, then it was generalized anxiety, not otherwise classified. There was, of course, I had PTSD, uh, addictive, not addictive personality, addictive personality. Basically, I had a history of addiction, history of struggles with substance abuse disorder. There you go, substance abuse disorder. My brain kind of farts sometimes. And I think that um a lot of these do overlap. I'm starting to believe that mental health is a spectrum in and of itself, and we've all just kind of got this hodgepodge of different struggles going on, and they have to put a label on it, but I think it's all on the same spectrum, to be honest. So I know that it could seem overwhelming when we have a whole bunch of diagnoses, but I honestly think that one just kind of plays off the other and we just fall on a bigger spectrum. And I've had mental health professionals, several mental health professionals I've talked to, not on a client professional basis, but on a professional basis through my coaching and stuff, and through my happiness boost course when I was having some professionals look that over to get their approval. That yeah, they agree that it's kind of on the spectrum. Oh, I'm glad that I can make someone's life so much easier. My mental health recently has been horrible. Scott, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that you're struggling. Um, I lost my parents too, and it is very, very difficult. I see a lot of people asking how I'm doing, and I do want to say that I'm doing pretty good. I have had to breathe through a few moments. There has been a lot going on. Things just get heavy, here and there. But for the most part, my mental health is on the up and up, and I am navigating through things pretty swimmingly, I think. I was actually not feeling well the last couple of days. I don't know why, but I am obviously feeling much better now. So thank you for everybody that's been worried. Loneliness does suck, but at the same time, I think I learned a lot before I got married. I was alone for about a year and a half, just lived by myself. And there was a point when, with after my mom passed away, I couldn't be alone. I just couldn't. And to feel that empowerment, to have built myself up to that place, and to have been able to function on my own and pay the bills on my own and just be my own independent person was huge for my mental health and my self-worth and my personal empowerment. I love you, James. You're so sweet. And yes, face to face does have to be with the right person, because if you end up with somebody who just doesn't get it, it's exhausting. Let's see. Thank you, DJ Turtle. Mwah. I love your little avatar. That's cute. I will be announcing, I just wanna say he's saying that I will be, I'm very interested in your project. EJ Turtle just made a donation for the project. Thank you so much. Thank you, James, also for your donation. I will be announcing it soon, I promise. I don't mean to be so mysterious, but just with copyrights and with security and stuff, I don't want to have any issues. So I was advised not to talk publicly about the details of it until it is official, till the copyrights and stuff come back, because I just don't want I don't want the idea to fall into someone else's hands, who wouldn't be as passionate probably as I am about it. I had to go through a lot of people because it is going to take a team for me to work on this, hence why I'm having to raise funds, because I'm having to get help, because I don't have the skills necessary to do everything that it would require. So I have had to work on hiring a team. And They just advised me not to let things leak because it could backfire, which is fine. Everybody needs a little mystery in their life, right? It'll give you guys something to look forward to. I got an amen in here. Who is normal that has human rabbit ears. These are kitty ears, okay? These are kitty ears. Meow. These are not rabbit ears, although I wore those too when I shot for Playboy. I have had bunny ears, um, I've had kitty ears, I have Shrek ears, I have devil horns. I wear a lot of different ears, friends, a lot of different ears, although you only see these. I did my PhD studies in psychology, and I still can't fix myself. You know what? Because 'Cause you're not broken. You can't fix yourself because 'cause you're not broken. I don't think of people as broken for the most part. I do think there are some people that just need to be put out. But you'll see that in my new, reaction. I did "Hush" by Hell Yeah. I still have a real problem with people who are abusive or things like that. I still have a real problem finding value in those people. It's something I'm working on. I have my own issues, but I don't think you're broken. I just think that we've been through a lot. And I don't know your personal story, but our brains are reacting the way they're meant to when we go through traumatic situations and learning how to navigate that trauma and learning how to uh, deal with that because we aren't taught in school. It's not your fault. You are not broken. We aren't taught to deal with this in school. We're just not. We are never in our lives taught how to deal with grief, how to deal with trauma, how to deal with our mental health, the things that can affect our mental health in our lifestyle. We aren't taught any of that. So it's not our fault. You're not broken. You are beautiful. And I always kind of wonder what normal is anyway. I feel like who can really define that? My favorite color is pink. How'd you know? It's not vodka in my water, but I promise, guys, it's tea. Oh, it's tea that needs mixed a little bit. It is cacao reishi, uh, with with pea protein milk, I believe. I found a new vegan milk I really like because I never liked soy milk, and I'm allergic to almonds, and coconut milk's too sweet. Sweet. I'm picky. What can I say? Yeah, there's being alone and there's loneliness. There's a difference. And at first, I was lonely when I was on my own. It was really hard making that transition. And then I got to a point where I was really okay being alone, and the loneliness. I started to work through that, and I think that the isolation of the quarantine and everything really did a number on a lot of us. But I think that I always say if you're able to build your skill box, your toolbox, then it's going to be easier to manage these situations. So I ended up getting decertified as having a serious mental illness in the middle of a global pandemic, quarantine, lockdown. So it's not impossible. I had just really worked on myself, and I did things for my lifestyle that were conducive to my mental health while most people were going and drinking themselves into oblivion, or really just allowing themselves, giving themselves an excuse almost to have this really toxic lifestyle. I cracked down and made sure mine was more healthy, made sure I was being more active, made sure I was eating even cleaner than before, made sure that I was really feeding myself with things that were going to be good for my mental health. And that was why I launched Happiness Boost, is because I wanted people to have those same opportunities, because I wanted to be that teacher that taught how different lifestyle things can affect our mental health. Amanda Passion, rah. You have skills to pay the bills. Thank you, Jimmy. I've never tried to hide how my days are. I try hard to never let my bad mood affect others, but people know how I feel by my expressions, body language. I think it's healthy in some ways to not hide, pretend. I think it's healthy in a lot of ways not to hide or pretend, Michael, because I think that when there are times when I need to go off and be alone. I need to go off and take time for me to reflect, to decompress, maybe to de-escalate a little bit. And there's times where I need that. But for the most part, I try not to lie to people. If a friend asks me, how are you doing? I tend to be, you know what, I'm struggling right now. And either I need space, or I've gotten pretty good about saying, this is what I need right now. Either I need to talk. I would really just like more validation, I'm pretty decent about saying what it is I need. And right now, I'm good, and I'm just really focusing on my projects. And I tell my friends when they say, "How can we support you?" You know what? Support me by helping me support others, because I think that knowing that I can help, even if in some tiny, tiny little way, heal other people or help other people or help someone not end up in the place I was, then I'm good with that, and that brings me a lot of joy in my life. Bullying is like domestic violence, yeah. It's interesting that you had never made that connection because I was bullied, and I very much had always connected the 2 in my mind that, yeah, bullying is, like domestic violence. It is very much it's not like domestic violence, it is domestic violence. I had done a interview a while back with Sean Kanan, who was the bully, Mike Barnes on the 3rd Karate Kid film, and he talks a lot about bullying. I was bullied, he was bullied, a lot of people are bullied, and it is something I don't know if you guys have ever scrolled through the comments section of my videos. If comments are really toxic and really aggressive, I will delete them. But if someone is just bullying another person, I will call them out on it for their toxic behavior because I've seen people that have really been damaged and in some cases lost their life to suicide because of bullying, and I have zero tolerance for it. There are ways to communicate and to get our points across without bullying. And I have been talking to Sean actually about participating in some of his programs, being more involved in some of his anti-bullying programs that he is involved with, because it is something that's very, very important to me, especially cyberbullying. I want to do more in that range because it's something that I'm obviously involved in, the cyber world, the online world. So I really want to be able to help with that. And it is something that I will be delving more into as time goes on. But I can only take on so many projects at a time. So I definitely do acknowledge it that it's domestic violence. It really is. There are many people around me who think they know everything, and I don't like them. I don't like people like that either. Know-it-alls are very, very obnoxious. To be around my ex was like that, where he couldn't be wrong, and everything he said all the time, even if he was talking to someone who that was their profession and the thing that they've done their whole life, he always knew better than them. Oh my gosh, yeah, that kind of personality is something that I distance myself from these days. I try not to be involved in that. It's very overwhelming. My favorite color is purple, just a darker shade of pink. Normal is boring, normal is boring. Us non-military folk love our military men and women. Yes, I believe I don't actually, in most cases, support the concept of war, but I very much have always supported my troops, and I hate when you speak out about something and you wind up kind of getting chastised for, well, if you don't support war, then you can just leave America and you hate our troops. And I first-handedly have gotten veterans off the street, and uh, the guy that I was talking about, the homeless individual that I was talking about in the five finger death punch reaction, unfortunately, after, geez, I think it's been 7 years at least that he's been in his apartment, just got kicked out. And he right now I'm trying to figure out, because as of the first, he has no place to go. I'm going to be watching his dog while he's trying to figure this out. And I don't know what to do. And I really want to, I just want to help everybody all the time. But he's become a very close friend, and I'm really struggling because I feel like every veterans organization has failed him, and it's horrible. Um, and trying to figure that out is terrible. That there's a lot of cracks in the veteran systems, and I think that our country needs to do their job and fix that. Honestly, I'm jealous of those who need more alone time. I understand it, but I always find myself thinking you can borrow my alone time. That's heartbreaking. I understand though. I felt a lot like that after my mom passed away. I couldn't be alone. I just couldn't. If I was alone, I'd have a panic attack. So I can definitely understand that. I do obviously need time to myself. I can't be around somebody 24/7, even if I love them to death. But that's a really powerful insight. Thank you for sharing that. I lost my last sibling last month. Oh, Rick, you are going through a lot. I want to hug you. I really want to hug you. And I will stay here for you. I'm not going anywhere. So I have had people, Donatello, saying that the ears are cute and light and fun, perfect for this conversation. I have had a lot of people that have attacked me because they say, "Oh, well, I can't take you seriously." I don't want to be seen as a professional. I want you to see that I am human. I'm just like you. I am just a person. I don't want to hide, as we were saying, who I am or my interests or anything like that. I don't want to pretend to be someone I'm not to try to get YouTube followers or to try to fit into some kind of stereotype. Mental health looks a lot of different ways, and it doesn't have a face, and it doesn't have a color, and it doesn't have certain headphones. And I appreciate that. Thank you. I tried ketamine infusion last year in February that has worked great for my depression. However, it has nothing to do for my anxiety. It's slowly getting better. I think that people don't separate. I like that you're separating your symptoms of depression, your symptoms of anxiety as two separate things, because a lot of people kind of tie them together. And I mean, in some ways they do overlap, but I think symptoms of anxiety are dealt with more for the most part through cognitive approaches as opposed to the various things that we can take, be it prescription medication, in your case, ketamine infusion, CBD, herbs, whatever it is we take. I think that for me, I do take herbs, but the things that help me more for my anxiety are way more cognitive based in nature, and it's more lifestyle changes and the things that I'm feeding my brain and stuff. Oh, James, I'm so proud of you that you hit 9 months sober. That is good news. Snaps for James, everybody. Snaps for James. Okay, my Elwoods came out there for a second. I feel like I need a snap cup, and then every week we can just come on and share our accomplishments and things with each other. I think that'd be a good idea. Maybe that's what I should save the last 10 or 15 minutes of these live streams for, is just so we can share our accomplishments. Even if it's I put pants on today. Actually, you see, I don't know which drawer they're in. There we go. So I have these stickers. They're stickers for grown-ups. So I am often saying that I needed a gold star chart like kids have, because I just feel like adulting is exhausted. And some of these are just so funny. I wasn't late. I cleaned without being asked. And I think that just, acknowledging these things sometimes, if that's what you did, that's another part in the Happiness Boost course, is really in the first section, we drill in on the things you're already doing right, because every single person has strengths and they have things that they're doing right and they might not be seeing them. So we take time to really acknowledge that. I admitted I was wrong. I feel like I would love to really shove that on some people's faces. I made a sensible choice. But yeah, I think giving yourself credit and really, really giving yourself those snaps, giving yourself that pat on the back. Good job. There is unhappiness all over the world, and we got to try to, do our part. Um, I don't want a woman to come into my life just because I'm relying on her for my happiness. That is extremely powerful that you recognize that. And I will say that every single relationship I got into where I was feeling symptoms of depression going into it failed horribly and was a steaming, flaming pile of dog crap, because you just can't. You cannot be in a healthy relationship if you're relying on that person to be your other half. You have to be whole yourself, and then bring somebody else into that and share that. And obviously, that doesn't mean that you can't have symptoms of anxiety and depression, or that you can't struggle, or that you're not going to have bad days, because we all do. We all have them. But just being in a stable place and having a strong toolbox and having a strong sense of self-esteem and self-worth is super important. So I am really happy that you know that, and you can start working toward those things, so you can be in the happy relationship you deserve when the time is right. Happy New Year for the people that are wishing Happy New Year. I've never seen you before, and yet we share and listen. I've never seen you before, and yet we share and listen. I have children I try and involve, don't want to know friends. I'm a different one. We're all different ones. Emotional violence is as bad as physical violence, David. And I will say that a lot of people really try to downplay. I've been emotionally abused in several of my relationships, and it does just as much psychological damage as physical. As a matter of fact, there were times where I wish they would have hit me because I have makeup, I could have covered that up, but the emotional scars can be so much more difficult to come to terms with and deal with. So much good has come from it. So much good always comes from finding that better life, from letting go of those addictions. I'm actually right now reading a book on the psychology of addiction just because I want to know more on that side of it because I know my experience, but I love to learn and I just want to know more about that. I have many mental health issues, and I have over the past 5 years stopped talking to nearly everyone. I stay away from everyone, leave my house only after dark so I don't see others. I think that that's completely normal, as we were talking about the word normal. I don't know if you just got here, but we were talking about the word normal. And I think that it's very common for people to isolate. I don't think that we really want to be alone and push everyone away. We just don't want to allow the wrong people in our space. And we've been jaded and we've been burned and people have hurt us. And it's completely understandable that we don't want to feel that again. But then we have to realize that the trade off is we're going to be completely isolated and that's going to bring a different type of hurt when there are people like me who aren't going to judge you, who aren't going to hurt you, who will understand. You just have to find a community and build a community of people that will understand. And I hope to make that easier for people moving forward in 2022 in a variety of ways. But I think that it's really important that even if you just have one or two close people, to have a couple of people that get it. What's the pros and cons for psychiatric medication, in your opinion, and what alternatives are there for mental health without medication? Great question. I think that there are times when psychiatric medication are necessary. First and foremost, I think that if you are in a place where you are experiencing very violent tendencies, you're experiencing hallucinations, things like that, medication might need to be something that is looked at. And I obviously can't say at what point that would be necessary, but it is very important to consider that in extreme situations. I think the problem is that it has become the first action plan for most mental health professionals when there are a lot of alternatives, and I outline on my website amandawebsterhealth.com the 5 things that I really think affect mental health the most, and that is what I now call my 5 puzzle pieces of happiness with my happiness boost course, because I think these are the things that really helped me, that made the biggest difference for me when moving through this and going through this journey. And the first one is just assessing where you're at. And like I said, you can see these. If you don't want to write these down, you can go to amandawebsterhealth.com and see these and read about these and learn more about the course. But the first one is just assessing where you are, because I think that most people, they say, I want to be happy. I don't want to be depressed anymore. Okay, well, what does that actually look like for you? And understanding where your current location is, where you're wanting to go, what your strengths are. Like I was saying before, the very first thing in the, not the first thing in the section, but in the very first section, we start talking about how to find your strengths and how to find things that you're already doing right when the symptoms of depression, when the shadow in your mind is telling you that you're doing everything wrong. So really reiterating that, learning how to emotionally eat the right way, because people deny the connection between mental health and what we're putting into our bodies, but there is a very, very physical connection called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve connects from the intestines and goes up into the base of our brain. So it goes from our intestines back into the base of the brain. And if there's inflammation going on, then that's going to send signals up to the brain saying something's wrong, something's wrong. And that will come out as symptoms of anxiety and depression. So learning what vitamins you need, what things we need to be at our optimal mental health, what we shouldn't be eating, what can cause inflammation, how to do this in a way that you're not counting, because nobody has time for that. It's really just learning how to eat for optimal mental health, and being able to incorporate that without sacrificing, because eating is awesome. And I still eat pie, and I still eat pizza and I still eat things like that. I've just learned how to make sure that I'm getting all the nutrients that my body needs to be able to feed my vagus nerve and not cause inflammation. Another important one, I call it finding your fitness, because I think that a lot, obviously, when you're depressed, I'm sorry, when you are feeling symptoms of depression, I know that you've probably caught that by now. I don't say I am depressed. I don't believe that I am my depression. And I think that owning it as part of yourself is doing yourself a disservice. So I just want to point that out real fast. But when you are feeling symptoms of depression and you're struggling with your mental health, you have no energy. You don't want to go to a gym. You don't want to go turn on a YouTube video and do some Insta workout or something that's going to give you flat abs and blah, blah, blah. That's not going to be something that you can functionally upkeep over time. And I think that understanding, learning how you can reap the physical benefits of physical physical exercise, not exercise. I don't want to say exercise, that's not the right word, but you can reap the physical and mental benefits of it without going to a gym, without doing these workouts and stuff. You can incorporate that into your life in more enjoyable ways. The three C's of sustaining happiness is the fourth part, that is learning. Once you have a solid foundation of, you know where you're at and where you're wanting to go, you have this solid lifestyle now that is more conducive to your mental health. It's essential that you have the tools necessary to navigate stressful situations. And the three C's of sustaining happiness really teaches those tools, so that when you do find yourself in having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, you'll know how to navigate it. And the last one is just cutting the crap. And that is knowing what needs to be cut out of your life, how to cut it out of your life, and what's really going to bring you to the top of your own personal, as I call it, happiness spectrum, because everybody's happiness spectrum and everybody's base point for how they feel at a neutral point, say when they're just walking their dog or just checking the mail or doing the dishes, how you feel at a neutral point will change. And these things actually will alter that. And I have had professionals, mental health professionals, look over the course. I have had plenty of people go through the course, and most people will get about a 7 point. That's the average increase for their DAS, which is the depression, anxiety, stress scales. Mine went. Mine was so astronomically high before I started implementing these changes that I was considered at crisis level. And I ended up at a 2 and a 1 over a 16 and a 21, I believe it was, for anxiety and depression. I ended up at a 2 and a 1. I think it was. It was just crazy. And most people that go through the course get about a 7 point at least drop. So they do end up really moving in the right direction with their mental health. And I do, although it's usually only performed by mental health professionals, I do take you through the DAS at the beginning so you know where you are with your depression, anxiety symptoms, and at the end where you end up. So I hope that answered your question, Headsick Nation, as far as alternatives for mental health without medication. I don't take medication. Medication was not the answer for me. It made my life a living hell. It was awful. I could not handle the side effects. I thought I was dying, hallucinations, worst panic attacks in my life, never again. So I hope that I do think that there are situations, there are people that need it. If it helps you, I'm all for it. It just didn't work for me. And I just want people to understand that it's not for everybody. The economic crisis and the oppressive power have destroyed my sanity. I really struggle sometimes with, the outside world, but I don't watch the news. And if I can do something, then I want to be informed. But if I can't, I absolutely can't just sit here and fall apart. I absolutely can't take on the world if there's nothing that I can do about it. So I try to do what I can be happy in my life. And if there's something I can do to help the situation, then I absolutely always do. But if not, I'm not going to obsess and constantly watch the news because I don't think it's healthy. My disrespectful neighbors have ruined my sanity. I have definitely had those before, but nobody has power to ruin your sanity. There's always ways to get around these situations. I've had some really awful neighbors. I had one who almost knocked his girlfriend through a wall. I had one who played their music really loud all the time and made it very, very hard to sleep. Je suis flattée. C'est cool, je vais pouvoir c'est mon anglais. Ouais, tu peux. Bonjour. Uh, but yeah, I think that we have to understand the power and control we have of our um, of our situation, and there's always things that we can do to improve it. And I remember hearing this story about this this man that he goes to a new village and he seeks out the wise man in the village, and he says, I'm wanting to come here and I'm wanting to relocate here, but I want to know what the people are going to be like here. And the wise man said, well, what were the people like in your old village? And he said, they were stubborn and they were rude and they didn't care and it was awful, and that's why I'm relocating. And the wise man said, well, they're going to be the same here. And so the guy goes to try and find another village. Shortly, another man comes along and says the same thing. I am thinking of relocating here, but I really want to know what the people are like in the village. And the wise man said, well, what were they like in your old village? And he said, they were always really personable. They were always really kind to me. They were really considerate. And I really enjoyed being around them. And he said, well, they're going to be the same here, because we will seek out people based on how we perceive the world. So you might have the crappiest neighbors ever. Okay. How are the neighbors on the other side? If you have people in your life that are just absolutely awful, get rid of them. If you're looking at the world and saying there's so much oppression, there's so much violence, there's so much evil, sure there is. But I suggest everyone goes and downloads the app Squirrel News, because it is nothing but good news stories from around the world. And I think that is absolutely amazing. Like this one, plastic trash transformed into sneaker gold. So this person made sneakers that are made of waste plastic and are a success on the runways right now. So I think that is absolutely amazing. There's so much good news, but the news that we're watching doesn't share stuff like that with us, doesn't share all the success in the world. Focus on that. By the way, Zio, you can drop your link here. You guys, I know you probably don't speak French, but I still love his channel so much. Make sure to check it out. Drop your link here. I don't have it right offhand, so please feel free to drop that in the comments section here. You guys have to check him out. He has some awesome Harry Potter French stuff. I'm sure you have subtitles on your videos. I love the insights. There's so many insights for different theories on some of the most amazing franchises like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, and stuff. So you guys have to check it out. No one hates more than the soldiers, and whoever said that you don't support the troops is an idiot. Yeah. Yeah, I wish more people understood that we can dislike our leadership, we can disagree with how things are being run, and still love our country. So thank you for reaffirming that. Let's see. I'll get invited out, which means I'll end up drunk, but they think getting out is the answer. So I'm careful about those situations that get me drunk. So get a different crowd to go out with. That is my advice there. Or tell people that you want to try different things. You can go out without it being a drinking fest. I actually haven't went to bars or clubs in a long time, and I still go out and hang out with people, but I try not to make it alcohol based. Sometimes I'll have wine with dinner or whatever, but I just really think that if you have to drink to have fun, that's going to fuel an addictive mindset. Yeah, just drink clear. Like, it's just drink cacao reishi vegan tea. I had to stop drinking because I noticed it affected my mental health and my sleep. So right now I am not drinking alcohol just because it was really messing up my sleep. It was really causing me to have more anxiety throughout the day. I noticed that my self-esteem was kind of wonky. So right now I just cut it out. Maybe I'll go back to social drinking eventually, maybe not, but doesn't matter. I don't need it. Regarding mental health, the most important thing is try and make a change to society and not to the individual. Yes, yes, yes. So that's like it's a whole lot like the conversation about rape culture. We need to stop telling women what to wear to avoid getting raped and stop teaching men not to rape and start figuring out why that kind of behavior is happening and how we can stop that. I do agree that a lot of perspectives and a lot of focuses need to shift. Let's see. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody who's wanting to share stories. Dogs and meditation. Yep, my dogs really helped me. Casca, I understand. My meditation practice has been uh, completely amazing for me. I don't know if you guys can see, I have kind of a new little yoga setup. I took this 30-day yoga challenge on the Yoga with Adrienne channel, and I've been doing that every day since the New Year's, and it really does help. I just do a little bit of meditation afterwards, so it really does help. Sabri says, "What type of music is good for my mental health?" I want to say that I think that is different for everyone. I think that for one, people have. I think a lot of people have different needs. Everybody has different needs, and a lot of people are going to really relate to, say, classical, and classical really helps boost the brain, and it really helps stimulate the brain in a completely different way, and that can bring calming. Pretty much listening to any music that is uh, that is more either positive or validating will increase blood flow by about 25 to 26%, and will help you process through things. So it really depends where you are in your mental health journey. So for me, if I'm just feeling kind of bummed and I need energy, that's when I go and I listen to my 90s pop. I'll put on some Instinct, Backstreet Boys, things like that, that are going to just make me feel happy and nostalgic. If I'm feeling like I need validation, I need someone to really help me, then I'm going to listen to Linkin Park just to know that someone gets it to help me get through that feeling without telling me I shouldn't feel it. If I'm needing to relax, I'll listen to classical. I have classical on in my car. If I am needing to kind of flip my brain, I'll listen to something in French. I listen to something in, I do understand it, but it takes really focusing. So that really activates a different part of my brain. So I think it's different for everyone. Metal, for a lot of people, allows them to work through these feelings of anger and aggression and stress that they're having. It really just depends on your personal needs, either at the time or really in general. I know a lot of people in here probably aren't listening to NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys, but that was really good for me. It really depends on your tastes and your needs and where you're at in your mental health journey. I think Will just said the most amazing thing ever. When we say normal, we mean average. Who really wants to be average? Let's just repeat that. Can we get that on a t-shirt? If not, I will put it on a t-shirt myself. Will, you need to message me that later because I need to remember that. I really think that that needs to be on a shirt or a mug or something somewhere. Yeah, therapy can be a lot of things, painting, playing an instrument, exercise. There could be a lot of different things that can be therapy. I was the strong person in my circle. Yep, I hear that a lot. I was always that person too, and then finally I snapped. I think that friendships have to be two-way streets, just like relationships. If you are the person that is surrounded by vampires and they're going to suck out all your energy, then you need to reevaluate who you're around because good friends are there, even though sometimes they need help too. It's a give and take, and there's a pretty fair balance of it in good relationships. I've had to really start weeding out people, even people that I really care about, that don't respect that balance. We are about to wrap up here, so give it a couple more minutes, just if you guys had any final questions or anything. Let's see. Can't walk into a gym, so I have wages to them. That's absolutely okay. I don't go to the gym that often either. I have a lot of other ways that I incorporate physical activity into my life. I Yeah, in my country, the economy is terrible. The government is oppressive and conservative. I'm very down. Well, things aren't super great here in our country either, in the United States. But I really choose to focus on the positives that are coming out of it. Let's look at it this way. Think about when I'm assuming you're not here in the US, but when 9/11 happened, it was so tragic for everyone. So very, very tragic for all the citizens. And it was an act of hatred and it was despicable. But what if we chose to focus on how it brought people together, on how people started standing up for each other, people started looking out for each other, people started being there for each other? Look at the good that comes from these situations as much as you can, and look for the heroes. Look for the people, as Mr. Rogers, I believe it was, said, look for those heroes in these situations. So while, yes, your country might be awful, look for the people that are standing up against it. And if you can, be one of those people. That is my advice. Xio, I completely understand. I think that's how you say it. Xio. I understand so much sensation. Sometimes it's so difficult to work on everything, even if that's my passion. I get that way too because I have so many different projects in the works at all times. And I love coming on here. I love creating content for you guys. I know that he loves creating content because I could tell in his videos and his personality. I love it so much. But sometimes, yeah, it can just be very difficult to balance everything. I'm gonna go take some time to play some Metroid Dread after this just to decompress. I shot a reaction this morning. I had this and I had my Patreon uh live chat, which David was also in that. David just can't get enough of me today. There's a couple of people in here I think that were in both. And now I just, you know what, I'm just gonna go take some time for me. But like I said, I wasn't feeling good the last couple of days, so it's a good balance. I had been laying in bed reading, watching Better Call Saul on Netflix. I'd never seen it, so I just started that while I wasn't feeling good the other day. And yeah, I'm gonna start me up some Metroid Dread. I feel so overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. My parents did so much damage. I've forgiven, but I cannot forget. And you don't have to. You don't have to. Nobody's asking you to forget. And it's powerful that you've moved through that forgiveness. That's a really good step. You're moving in the right direction. And I know it's not easy, but one step in the right direction is forward movement. And there's so much you can do to just take those little steps. It matters so much, I promise. And I don't know what you've been through, but I just want you to know that you are worthy and worthy of love. And I see you, and I'm genuinely sorry for what you've been through, DJ Turtle. But I really believe that you can find happiness at the end of it all. Depression feels like I'm another person who has a whole different set of wants and needs. Yep. Unfortunately, I can't get through everything here in the future. Just FYI, if you want to do um, a sticker, just so I don't miss your comment, please feel free to do that. If you feel so inclined to make a donation, like I said, that's all going to go toward this mental health project that I am so excited for. But thank you guys so much. Like I said, I want to start doing this. Uh, I really want to start doing this once a week. I haven't decided on what day yet, but I really want to start doing this just to give people an opportunity to come in here, check in, so they have another avenue, a little bit more personal of an avenue to talk and to be seen. Because I just want every single person who feels invisible to know that I see them and I care. I care if your light goes out. I care about your mental health. I really do want to see you heal. And I know it's not an easy process. Believe me, it's not an easy or quick process, but it's so worth it. And I don't have anything that you don't have except maybe super cute kitty headphones. But I don't have anything that you don't have that can bring you happiness and healing. I promise. Oh, yes, James says he's going to buy a sweatshirt soon. You better send pictures. There is, if you look, I think it's either below here, it's below the videos. I do have a shop just so you guys can get some merch. Not so much for me, but it's a great way to spread the mental health message and just get people talking. It's a great conversation starter. So make sure to check that out if you feel so inclined. I didn't want to push it through Christmas because I knew everybody and their aunt twice removed was saying, you need to buy this as a Christmas present. I didn't want to do that. I was very adamant about not sending a lot of emails or doing things like that over Christmas. So I did want to bring it. I did want to bring attention to it now. So thanks for that, James. I can't wait to see pictures of you guys in your shirts and with your puppies. If you go over to the community page, you can actually see a couple of pictures of people wearing the stuff. So it's pretty awesome. Yes, you can wear it on our next live stream. Thank you. Thank you so much. I am so excited that I finally figured out how on earth to do this and committed to doing it. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. Like I said, I'm going to have a set time from here on out to start doing this. But thank you for joining me for my very first one. I hope I was gentle since it was our first time together. I really hope that I was gentle. Thanks for being gentle with me. And I will see you guys soon.